In the beginning, when Eru Ilúvatar dwelt alone in the timeless halls, he formed the Ainur, primordial spirits of independent thought, who each inherited powers and skills from a specific portion of the Creator's mind. All save for Melkor, greatest of the Ainur, who was granted insight into every area of knowledge. With so much potential, Melkor grew insatiably curious and yearned to break free from the restrictions imposed by Eru, resulting in a rebellion during the Ainulindale when he disrupted the harmony to sing aggressive, loud, and repetitive notes. Engaged in a war of sound, Eru eventually ended the music and showed them a vision of what their conflict created. Though the images depicted scenes of joy and triumph, the music of Melkor infused great cruelty and suffering as well. Fascinated by what they saw and wanting to be a part of it, the Ainur asked for the vision to be made real, and so Eru agreed on the condition those who entered could not return until the universe reached its natural conclusion. With this in mind, some Ainur remained behind while others descended into the universe Ea, dividing into two classes, as the 14 most powerful became the Valar, those who shaped and oversaw the world of Arda, while many of the lesser and far more numerous Maiar served them and aided however possible. Seeking to rule this world as his own, Melkor descended from the timeless halls, wreaking havoc upon those who would not submit, until eventually realizing domination was impossible, and so wanted all of creation destroyed. Holding back and eventually eliminating this threat were the powerful Valar, who not only fought various wars against him, but also remade the world after each cataclysm, salvaging as much as possible. Originally dwelling on the island of Almaren, the reshaping of the world caused the Valar and Maiar to make a new home in the realm of Valinor upon the continent of Aman, also known as the Undying Lands. A home to all the immortal races, the Valar eventually invited the elves to live in their realm, where they were most faithfully served by the loyal Vanyar clan. Of the Valar who descended onto Arda and dwelt in this enchanted land, there was Manwe, Lord of Winds and King of the Valar, one of the main architects of this world, served faithfully by Eonwe, his herald and a chieftain of the Maiar. The husband of Queen Varda, Manwe was a wise, just, and benevolent leader who fought against his brother Melkor when necessary, but struggled to understand his evil. After the Dark Lord's defeat and capture in the war for sake of the elves, he eventually feigned repentance, convincing Manwe to release him from prison over the objections of the other Valar. Yet both Aman and Middle-earth paid the price for this error in judgment when Melkor destroyed the two trees of Valinor, killed King Finwë of the Noldor, stole 3 Silmaril jewels, and fled to Middle-earth, starting a centuries-long conflict that ended in the War of Wrath, a battle so devastating it reshaped continents. Living upon the mountain Taniquetil, Manwe came to realize the Valar and Maiar were too powerful to directly involve themselves in the lives of the humans, elves, and dwarves who populated Middle-earth, and so watched over them from afar, helping guide and protect them through emissaries like the 5 wizards of the Third Age, and scouts like the great eagles of the Misty Mountains. Living with her husband Manwe upon the mountain Taniquetil, Varda, Queen of the Valar and Lady of Light, was responsible for the illumination of Arda through the stars, the 2 lamps, the 2 trees, the sun and moon, and even contributed to the crafting of the Silmaril jewels. A Vala of great beauty and power, Varda was desired by Melkor but turned down his advances, siding with Manwe in the First War to become one of the Dark Lord's most hated enemies. Not only was he enraged by her rejection, but he also feared her specialization above all others, as he could not understand the mastery of light. Among her many servants, the best known were Ilmare, another chieftain of the Maiar, and Olorin, who later became the wizard Gandalf the Grey, sent to Middle-earth in the Third Age, where he helped destroy the One Ring of Power and defeat the second Dark Lord Sauron. Of all the Valar, Varda was the most beloved by elves, as they were born before the rising of the sun, meaning the stars she created were the first thing they saw when waking in Cuiviénen. One of the most powerful Valar and another chief architect of Arda, Aule the Smith, husband of Yavanna, delighted in crafting and creation, forming the lands above and beneath the sea, as well as all rocks, minerals, and jewels. Living in a beautifully designed mansion outside the city of Valmar, Aule helped in the construction of the two lamps and built the vessels that became the sun and moon. Of all the Valar, Aule was most similar to Melkor in his passion for creation, independent spirit, and desire to expand beyond the limitations of his being. But unlike the Dark Lord, he was fundamentally good-hearted and loyal to Eru. Becoming one of Melkor's greatest enemies, Aule repaired the damage done by the Dark Lord's wars and built the chain Angainor the Valar used for his capture and imprisonment. Perhaps as a result of his independent spirit, Aule attracted like-minded followers such as the Maiar Maidon and Kurumo, as well as the Noldor elves who embraced his knowledge of crafting, with Feanor, son of King Finwë, becoming his best and most talented student. Yet while many of these beings learned much from Aule, they did not share his good-natured loyalty, eventually betraying the Valar in some form or fashion, as Maidon became Sauron, a defector and lieutenant to Melkor, who after his master's defeat, became the second Dark Lord of later ages. There was also Kurumo, who remained loyal until the Third Age, when he was sent to Middle-earth as the White Wizard Saruman, charged with helping the local people in their fight against Sauron, but instead became corrupted, seeking to destroy all rivals so he could claim the One Ring of Power and rule over the continent. As for the Noldor, they went to war and abandoned Valinor after Melkor killed their king Finwë and stole the Silmaril jewels of Feanor. Following the Dark Lord to Middle-earth, the Noldor waged the centuries-long War of Great Jewels against Melkor, seeing him as the primary target, but their most extreme faction, which followed Feanor and his sons, slaughtered anyone, friend or foe, who stood between them and the Silmarils, resulting in 3 kinslayings, where they massacred their fellow elves. Despite all the betrayals from those who served the Smith, Aule was the staunchest of opponents to the Dark Lord, never believing his lies about repentance and arguing vehemently against pardon and release. When the Maya Ose, who loved storms and destruction, was swayed to join with Melkor, it was Aule who approached his wife Uinen and convinced her to calm his fury and bring him back to Eru and the Valar. As the ages went on before the waking of the children, Aule grew impatient and decided to experiment with his own living beings, creating the fathers of the dwarven race. Unfortunately, he quickly realized they did not possess independent thought, as only Eru could provide the flame imperishable which distinguished intelligent life forms. Having violated the will of the Creator, Aule was chastised for his actions, and so sincerely apologized, offering to destroy what he made. Yet Eru would not see them harmed, and instead accepted the dwarves as his adopted children, putting them to sleep until the time was right for their awakening. The wife of Aule and sister of Vanna, Yavanna, the giver of fruits, was the Vala dedicated to the creation and prosperity of plant and animal life, known for singing the 2 trees into existence and making the golden fruit and silver flower which became the light of the sun and moon. She also created Galathilion, the first white tree, as a gift for the elves of Tirion. After a discussion with her husband, Yavanna feared the children of Eru, elves, dwarves, and humans, would destroy her great works by cutting down forests and ripping apart soil to build settlements for their survival, and so approached Manwe with her concerns, resulting in the creation of tall tree-like beings to serve as shepherds of the forest, charged with the protection of Yavanna's creations. The males of the species, called Ents, looked over the trees, while the females, called Entwives, tended to smaller plants and grasses. During the Third Age, when the Forestati wizards were being prepared for a mission to help defeat Sauron in Middle-earth, it was Yavanna who insisted they add a 5th member to the group, her Maya servant Iwendil, also known as Radagast the Brown, so he could act as her agent, looking out for wildlife in the eastern continent. A special thanks to all those who contribute to Civilization X, like Sir Bob of the Buoy, Ishmam Ahmed of Shamidiana, Faith the Wandering Huntress, and Rania Senestella, Keeper of Ancient Lore. If you'd like to help the channel, please go to patreon.com/civilizationx, where you can get early access to videos, vote on future content, and access the Patreon-only series, Heroes of Lore and Legend.